Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I tested the mic and camera and everything should be golden. If you can hear me okay, send me a little comment down on the comment box over there so I can see what the live chat is doing. So this is the first live stream that I've done on my channel. I have a little pre-recorded video that I did earlier. It's about 8 minutes long, so I'm going to get a little preamble here and we'll see who's in the chat. And what I will do from there is I'll just play the video, and it just goes over a few talking points on what you need to check before you get your bike out on the road for the spring. So just going to let people populate the chat there for a second. See if I can get my YouTube chat going. I do have a moderator. Let's keep the stream clean, all in the comments. She is ruthless. She will kick you out. We got to keep it family friendly. Bear with me here for a second. Trying to make sure that comments on the stream are populating on my other software. Shows I have 7 people watching right now. One of those, I assume, includes my moderator. Okay, there's my moderator. Says she says it sounds good here. Okay, yep, I can see the chat. It's populating okay. There we go. So, if you have any questions after watching the video, there will be Q&A after. You can post your comments down below to the right-hand side there of your screen, and do my best to answer whatever questions you may have. So, we got a few people in the chat there. Well, not in the chat, but a few people watching. If you want to have your attendance taken, pop your name down there in the comments so we can see who's watching. Just have to locate my video here. Looks like we'll have a few people in there now, so I'm going to start the video. We're 3 minutes in, so like I said, I'm just going to share this video with you, and we'll take a Q&A afterwards. So without further ado, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're working on this Honda Shadow. It's springtime. It's time to get the bike ready for the road. So we're going to do a few basic checks. Nothing that requires special tools. And that'll make sure that the bike is ready and safe for the road when we start hitting it. So first things first, before you move it from where it's been stored, have a look underneath to see if there's any oil leaks. You're going to want to check directly under the engine area, engine transmission, make sure that there's nothing on the ground there. Also check the forks, your front forks. Your left side fork should drip directly onto the floor. The right side fork may drip onto the rim and tire and then run down the outside. So just have a look there to see if you see any leaks. Before you start it, make sure you get it out into a spot where it's got ventilation, because carbon monoxide is not good for you. And we'll move on with the checklist. Tires first. You want to check your tread depth. You want to check for bulges, separation, cracks in the sidewall, things like that. You want to inflate them to the recommended pressures. This is where a manual comes in handy. An owner's manual is the most basic. You can do a Google search. That's fine too. I would recommend getting yourself a manual. Factory manuals can be expensive, but these climber manuals, there you go. These climber manuals are better than no manual. At least it gives you specs and details on what you need to do. Make sure they're set to the appropriate pressures. If you ride 2-up, there's a separate pressure for your rear tire. Usually it's higher, because a tire that's run low under load can separate and overheat. So tread depth, bulges, cracks, splits, such a pressures, and you should be good to go there. Guys with laced wheels, spoked wheels, there's another thing you should check, and that's your spokes. You gotta make sure they're tight. It's very simple to check them. You just take a screwdriver, Allen key, whatever, something, screwdriver, and just tap them. They should ring. If they ring, they're tight enough. If it just goes thunk, it's loose. You need to take that in and have it looked at. Spokes are a funny thing. A tiny little bit of tension on one spoke can make your rim wobble. So if you want to try adjusting it yourself, you can, but I would suggest taking that to a shop or somebody who's done it before. That's about it for the tires. Tires are tires. Make sure the air's up, make sure you got tread. That's good. We're going to move on to the controls. So your hand controls, your foot controls, any little moving part on the bike, but especially your controls. Make sure your clutch moves nice and free. Brake lever as well. Take a little bit of WD-40, anything in a spray can, get into the pivots there. Just give it a little touch. Doesn't have to be dripping, just a little touch of lubricant somewhere on your pivots and on your foot brake. Make sure that everything is pivoting properly, and then that should be good for the rest of the season. Once the season is fine for that, and in the springtime is a perfect time to do it because it's been sitting for a while. So check your oil. It's either going to have a little sight window, little round plug on the side of the engine case, usually on the right hand side, and there'll be a couple of lines in there, a low and a high line that gives you your oil level. That's where it should be at. Make sure it's in decent shape. If you didn't change it before you stored it, now's a good time to change oil and filter, because in storage, hot and cold temperature differences will cause condensation to happen inside the crankcase and in your gas tank, and that you'll get moisture in there. So it's a good time to change it if you didn't change it before you stored it. Once you've checked the oil, make sure that the oil and your coolant too. This bike is liquid cooled, so if you've got coolant, make sure that it's in the level between min and max on the bottle. This one is down in here. In the front, there's a high and a low line. Just make sure that your coolant is in there. Now you can fire up the bike. Make sure after your fluids are fine, fire up your bike and just let it idle. Don't need to rev it and wake everybody up. Just let it idle and warm up slowly. Keep an eye on the ground underneath the engine. Make sure that nothing's dripping out. And while that's happening, while it's warming up, now's the perfect time to check your lights. High beam, low beam, left and right signals. Your brake light with your hand brake and with your foot brake. Make sure you check it both ways because it's two separate switches. And the tail light. Make sure that your license plate sticker is valid. That's important too. And then we can move on to the chassis. The chassis itself, check your chain, make sure it's not rusted, rotted. Check for the chain tension. There's a certain amount of slack that's supposed to be in there. Some metric bikes have it, a little illustration on the swing arm back here. There'll be a little illustration that shows you a picture of a chain and a measurement, what it should be at. It's not overly difficult to adjust those. If you have a service manual, that's something that you might be able to take care of yourself. If not, find a guy. Find a guy you trust. Ask around with other people that ride that you know. See who they bring their bikes to. and get something scheduled now, because shops get crazy busy, like weeks behind, even month or more. You bring your bike in for an oil change, you can get a month before you can get it back. So get your scheduled maintenance scheduled. Also on the swing arm, maybe your tire information. This one happens to have a decal here, gives you your minimum and maximum tire pressures, whether you're solo riding or fully loaded with a passenger, luggage, whatever, up to the maximum capacity of the bike. Still running, still warming up. Keep an eye, make sure you're not losing anything on the ground. Last thing I check is the side stand. Make sure that your kickstand moves nice and free, doesn't hurt. Put a little drop of oil on there, WD-40 something. Make sure that it stays all the way on the up position, that it's not dangly. If it starts to dangle, that spring is worn out, need a new one. That's important. You do not want a side stand coming out when you're in a corner. So anyways, we're going to shut that video off here. There's nothing else to go over. Make sure you got some fresh fuel in there. Take it for a nice, easy ride. Remember, yes, it is spring and it feels nice and warm outside, but those roads are still cool. And when you've got a cold road, you got less grip. And you got tires that have been sitting for a while. So anyways, we're going to end this video here. We're going to flip over back to the live stream. We'll do some Q&A and we'll see what rolls out of that. Thanks for joining me on this video, guys. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up on the video and like, comment, and subscribe down below. It's important to get stuff scheduled now because they will get busy and you will not ride for a month. All right, guys. Thanks again. Take care. We have sound now. Hey, we got sound. Technical difficulties. My mic turned off while I wasn't using it. Okay. Anyways, like I was saying, we have a few people in here from out of our local area. We've got Dan from Nova Scotia. We've got MC from the UK. Got sound now? Give me a yes. Give me a no. Something in the comments. My mic says I've got sound. What I'm going to do here is I am going to put up a link. And if you've got a webcam and a microphone, you click on this link, and it's called StreamYard. You go into that link, and you'll be able to actually come up into the chat here, have your picture up here, and we can actually do voice. Again, family friendly, no cursing and carrying on. You will be kicked by my ruthless moderator. If you do decide to come up into the stream, please go to your YouTube tab on your browser and either close it or mute the audio. Otherwise, we'll get a repeating echo. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Oh, moderator texted me. Okay, we're all set. Mick, if you're watching, Mick is the officer from our local 399 chapter here of the Southern Cruisers. Him and I discussed doing this live stream about getting your bike ready. It's been a beautiful weekend here. Unfortunately, my bike is not on my property right now. It's still in storage. I'll have to run and grab that at some point. But I'm not seeing any questions. Well, I don't want the stream to stagnate if there's no questions. We got 10 viewers going. No questions. Might just close her off right here. Okay. That's what we'll do. Thank you for joining me on this live stream. Very basic, casual conversation. Oh, there's a question. Pop that up on the screen there. Rudy asks, if the tank is half full when you park it, you can just use some high test and more fuel stabilizer to get rid of moisture. Yep, absolutely. You can do that. There's two ways that I recommend storing your seasonal things, whether it's a lawnmower, motorcycle, anything. You can either store it completely full with stabilizer. I use seafoam myself. You can use whatever you like, but if you store it completely full with stabilizer, there's no air in there, so there's no chance for moisture to condense on the inside of a tank. Steel tanks are especially susceptible to it. So the other option is to completely drain it. Dry. Empty tank, empty carb, or fuel system if your bike is EFI. That is also another way to do it. Non-ethanol gas is important for small equipment and even for motorcycles. The ethanol in the fuel it's alcohol, and what it does is it absorbs water. So over time, the moisture in the air that's in your fuel tank can get absorbed by the ethanol, and it actually falls out of the fuel into the bottom of the tank, and it ends up getting into your fuel injectors or the bottom of your carburetor in the bowl, any of those things, and that can give you grief in the spring. So my moderator would like to come up here. Give me one sec. She's in the basement. Ha! My moderator doesn't have a webcam. I can't add you to the stream if there's no webcam active. So I'm going to throw a shout out there for another roll call. If you're watching, I show 8 viewing. If you're watching and you haven't commented yet, drop your name down in the comments there. We'll give you a shout out. Other questions I've heard about motorcycles is, people ask me, what should I run in my tires for air pressure? Air pressure in your tires, it can vary. Your bike manufacturer will recommend pressures, and most motorcycle manufacturers recommend a solo rider pressure for front and rear, and a up to maximum gross vehicle weight pressure for front and rear. Usually the front remains about the same, and the rear tire usually bumps anywhere from 4 to 7 to 8 psi, somewhere around there. Whatever you do, don't exceed what's written on the side of the tire, what's actually stamped into the rubber. That is the information on the tire will tell you what your maximum load is at a certain psi. Also, while we're on the subject of pounds per square inch, check your tires when they're cold. I don't mean out of the fridge cold, but before you start riding for the day, check your tires. So as they warm up, the air expands and gets more pressure in there. And if you set your tires when they're hot, when it gets to extreme temperatures, say even like a super hot day, they can actually be over pressure, and that can be dangerous as well. So belt drives, Rudy. Thank you for the questions. What about the belt drive? Check for tension and cracks, or should you check more where the belt is around the pulley? Belt drives on, we're dealing with Harleys, typically on the belt drive. I know Rudy has a Harley. The belt requires very little maintenance other than tensioning. Typically, if you have a chain on your bike, the chain, from the moment you start riding that bike, the chain stretches, and it continually stretches till it reaches the end of its service life. With a belt, generally a belt stretches during its first initial, say, 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles, and then it almost stops stretching after that. It slows down dramatically. Um, my own Harley, and it also depends on how aggressive you are on it. I'm a little aggressive with my bike, and my own, I need to set my belt tension like maybe once every 2 seasons. Um, that being said, I know, Mick, if you're watching, you're saying, "Oh yeah, what happened when you broke your belt?" That was different. I had a stone stuck in it. But check your belt for cracks. On a Harley, they use a cogged type belt, and the pulleys themselves, sometimes the chrome tends to flake out of them. That can cause accelerator wear on your belt. Uh, Belts are pretty resilient. They're very, very strong. The adjustment will, if it's out of adjustment, if it's loose on a Harley, usually what happens is when it's cold and you decelerate, it squeaks. You get a little chirp out of it. It's not as important as a chain, because the chain starts to flop around and hit the swing arm and stuff. So it can actually cause a lot more problems than a loose belt. But that's a great question, because a lot of bikes are shaft drive now. They don't even have belts or chains. There are different styles. The chain requires constant maintenance. The bike in the video, and the bike I have here on the hoist right now, typically it gets adjusted twice a season, because it starts to get a little loose and flappy. But chains do start to wear, and they wear consistently, where a belt will stretch to a point, and then it basically stops stretching, and then it just wears a little bit off the cogs in the gear. Great question. Thanks, Rudy. That's excellent. I know Adam Zimmerman up here in the comments. I know he was looking at a motorcycle. Adam, have you decided on one? Suzuki? Honda? Not sure which brand you're going with. So, well, there's no more roll calls. We still see 8. I still see 8 people viewing. Nobody's putting their 2 cents in, other than Rudy. Thank you, Rudy. There's another question. How would you get any old gas out if some got left in from the fall? And how bad is it to have old gas? That's a great question. Fall gas, say for some unknown reason, you just parked your bike and it had old gas in it, or it had gas in it, and you didn't put a stabilizer, you didn't put any of that stuff in it. There's a few different ways you can get it out. Probably the easiest way would be to make sure your fuel petcock is off, and remove the fuel line wherever you can reach, wherever you can get it off easiest. Take that fuel line off and just put it into a container, and then crack that fuel petcock on reserve, because that way you'll get most of it out. And once it stops dribbling out, fill her up with fresh fuel all the way to the top. That way the ratio of old gas to new gas, the old gas is much smaller percentage of your tank. So that works typically most of the time. The bike in the video that we just saw, it's been sitting for 2 years, hasn't run in 2 years, and, well, 2.5 years actually. It got put away in the fall, and it didn't get ridden for 2.5 years after that. But that bike had very old gas in it, and it barely ran. It was actually soaking the plugs. It had spark. The plugs would get soaked, and it just wouldn't fire. It wouldn't run. The gas had no BTUs left in it. So I just drained the fuel and put some fresh in there, and that worked pretty good for that one. as I discussed before, how detrimental it is. If you run non-ethanol fuel, 1-year-old fuel should run just fine. I've done it. Usually on a motorcycle, it's not that bad. Non-ethanol 1-year-old, I would say it's pretty safe bet that you'll be able to run it. But as soon as you can, just top it out with some fresh stuff at the gas station. Oh. Dan here says he used to have a Honda Passport 70. That's a neat old bike. That's vintage. I like vintage bikes. There's a couple of 40-year-old dirt bikes in the shed here. Adam hasn't decided on a bike yet. Let me know what you get. They're all pretty reliable now. Anything these days is very reliable. Metric bikes are far less maintenance than a Harley. Harleys do have a lot of maintenance. There's still a lot of manual adjusting and things you need to do on a Harley. And if you wrench on your own bike, that's great. That's part of the experience. Wrench on your own bike, but you have to manually set the clutch. You have to manually set the primary chain. You have to manually set a bunch of stuff on Harleys. Now, Harleys over the past while have gone into automatic tensioners and things like that. But a lot of guys are taking the automatic stuff off their bike and putting the manual stuff back on it because it actually works better. Oh. The Honda Passport. I haven't owned one of those, but I've had a lot of neat old bikes. I first started riding street bikes. I was riding 2-stroke triples. They're interesting. No manners whatsoever. Yeah, any more questions? I'm just looking through the chat here. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We got 9 viewers. If you don't mind, guys, I don't want to be self-promoting, but if you care to, please right about there, give me a thumbs up on the video. It'll help my channel out. Keeps me going, making more content. I don't do a whole lot of motorcycle stuff on my channel. I do have motorcycle stuff on there, but it's mostly small engine, like lawnmowers and riding mowers. This season I'll be doing a lot more work and on motorcycles, so there'll be more videos on them. Adam's question here is high test non-ethanol, or do certain gas stations only carry non-ethanol? Most stations he's been to say they may contain up to 10%. Absolutely great question. Most gas stations, even their premium, has ethanol in it. In my area, I can only really speak for my area. This area here, Canadian Tire 91 and Shell V-Power 91 are both non-ethanol fuels. If it is non-ethanol, it will state on that gas pump that such and such of brand or level of fuel contains no alcohol. Typically, if a station is going to have ethanol in everything, 10% will be in your bronze, and then 7 to 5% or something is in the silver, and then their gold is less, but it still has ethanol in it. The V-Power, Shell, and the Canadian Tire 91 both have non-ethanol. And the 91 is not as important as the non-ethanol part. A lot of bikes are high compression, and you should absolutely run the correct octane level in your bike. That'll keep it from detonating and pre-ignition and pinging. That can cause piston damage. Actually can eat the corners right off the side of your piston. That's not cheap. But that's a great question, Adam. Hopefully I answered it as well as I could anyways. It will definitely say on the pump if it contains ethanol or not. Got a Jay's in here. Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you. My moderator tells me there's a delay between YouTube and my stream software here, so I'm gonna just let it simmer for a sec here to see if we got another one. Definitely don't like no sound, not talking. But without any questions to answer, I'm not talking. We're going to give it a few more seconds here. We've been half an hour, so we're just about good. Feel free to contact me through your YouTube channel, or if you got here through Facebook, you can Facebook message me there as well. If you have any questions, further questions, or if you're interested in having me look at your bike, that's fine too. Again, I'm not self-promoting, just the options are out there. And with no more questions, I think we're going to lock her down here. Half an hour is pretty good for my first stream, live stream anyways. You guys be safe. Watch out. Just keep an eye, be safe, and enjoy yourself. This season should be great. Our weather is predicted to be pretty nice for most of the season. I know it's been great so far. This weekend it was awesome, and I've been working in the yard instead of riding my motorcycle, but you know, that it happens. So, Greg Bassett says, thanks for the presentation. I just want to thank all of you for joining me, and keep it rubber side down. Oh, I guess we're still live. Yeah. So, oh, Jay asked when we're going for a ride. Well, I'm going to get my bike. I was going to get it today. I'll get it shortly, and then we'll go for a ride. Hit me up on my phone or Facebook or whichever, and we can arrange something. And Mick had something here. He couldn't get the chat. I'm sorry about that, Mick. On the right-hand side, if you're watching on YouTube, on the right-hand side, there should be something that says hide chat or show chat. It'll just be a little gray text. Unfortunately, I've got too many things going on. Brake fluid. Actually, Mick had a question about brake fluid. That's excellent. Brake fluid should be flushed. Make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions on which type of fluid. Harley's uses specific .5 on a lot of them, and not interchangeable with .3 and 4. That kind of information is in owner's manual. It is in a factory service manual, and it is in your aftermarket climber manual, just like oh, my phone's going off. I'm sorry, I'm not distracted. I've got other messages coming across my phone instead of in the chat here. But you should flush that out. .5 fluid is silicone based. It is non-hygroscopic, which means it does not absorb water, which is good for the system. .3 and .4 is hygroscopic, which is why it'll always say use .3 brake fluid from a sealed container, because a opened up container has been exposed to the atmosphere with moisture in the air. So that is an excellent question. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to flush brake fluid. You want to make sure that everything is done right, because your brakes are your brakes, and stopping is more important than going. You have to be able to stop, so you want to make sure that everything there is on the up and up. Actually, I have a video on my YouTube channel flushing out the brake fluid on my Harley. So that it was an excellent question. Thanks, Mick. Got another question here. Oh, Ken can't chat either. I'm not sure what's going on with that, you guys. It would be on your end. Typically, I can't open my browser because it'll lag everything here, but Typically, it's on the right-hand side of where the video is playing. It'll be on the right-hand side, and it will say hide chat or show chat or something like that. Yep, that's what we're seeing. More questions. Okay. The questions for my phone are done. Any more questions up in the chat there? Nope. Well, here you go, guys. If you guys are watching on your phone, Michelle says that it's at the bottom of the screen, the desktop version. So if you're watching on a laptop or a computer, it'll be on the right-hand side. If you're on your phone watching this, it'll be at the bottom of the screen. Thank you, Michelle. I'm new to the whole streaming thing. I've got lots of videos, but no streams. Shows that we have 10 people watching. Anybody want to throw their name in the comments there? We haven't heard from yet. Thanks for joining us, Greg. Just replying to your comment there. Thank you for tuning in. Oh. Lots going on here in the shop. It's lawnmower season. Brake cables. Brake cables should be lubricated once in a while. Your manual will tell you. Your manual will tell you the interval, but usually you can start to feel it in a cable when it's getting gritty. A lot of bikes now have hydraulic clutches, which you don't feel any of that grit. The new Harley stuff is hydraulic, which uses brake fluid, so you would flush that at the same time. So brake cables, that is something you can do at home. There's a little tool called a cable luber. Let me see if I got mine here. I used to could, and I'll tell you, I hate the thing. I mean, it does work, but I don't like it. It's a mess. This is a cable luber. The large end here is where the cable goes in. So the barrel end of the cable that actually goes into the lever, that will stick out this side, the small side. And then you clamp this down, and it's supposed to clamp nice and tight around the cable, and then you put the straw from the cable lube aerosol can. You put the straw in there. When you press the button, it pressurizes that internal passage, and it forces the lube to go down the sheath of the cable. You know what? They're a mess. It makes a horrible mess. The other option is to take the entire cable and sheath off the bike, and you take a Ziploc bag and you cut the corner off it, put it down over the outside sheath, you tape it real nice and tight, and then you pour lightweight oil, 5W30, put some in the Ziploc bag. You get a little oil level there, and then the other end of the cable will just drip out oil when it has made it all the way through. That's an old trick for that plastic bag that's been around for a very, very long time. Mixed Mowers has joined us all the way from Great Britain. Thank you for joining, Mick. My first stream. I think I've seen all of yours for the last months. And Josh, thank you for joining in, Josh. One of our members of 399 asked me, how do you tune a spider? With a fly swatter. You had to know that was coming, Dan. Tuning them it's It's all nuts and bolts and spark plugs. It's change the plugs, clean, make sure your air filter is clean, make sure that all the moving parts have some type of lube. A motorcycle is exposed to the elements, just like a car, just like anything else. It's metal parts out in the rain, and you need to put a little bit of lubricant on everything that moves. It prevents wear, it makes it work properly and smoothly. Mick says here he uses the old plastic bag trick all the time. It works a treat. Yep, it sure does. It does work. This cable luber here is, the diameter of that is quite large, so it definitely will not work on clutch and brake cables for lawnmowers. It's way too wrong for that. Chris asks in the comments here, when do you change oil? When you put it away? When you bring it out in the spring? Well, I change my oil every 5,000 kilometers. If that's in the fall, that's one thing. If it's in the spring, that's when I do it. I really don't. I don't change it, as a part of the maintenance before the spring startup or the fall shutdown. I don't do it. I just do it on my 5,000 or so. If it's close, if it's got, if I'm 200-300 kilometers from changing the oil, then I'll just do it before I store it. That way it's fresh for the spring, and I can actually just ride instead of wrenching. So that's the way I do that. We got a few more people joining in. It's quite possible that people had the wrong time. It's 7 o'clock now, and we've had a few more people jump in, so that's great. That's great. Some people like to have their oil changed before they store it, so they don't have the season's worth of combustion or engine particles down in the oil sitting there all winter. In my opinion, it doesn't hurt anything. It won't hurt much at all. I mean, motorcycles are not as delicate as people think, as they like to think. People have their opinions of what oil is the best, and you should only ever use such and such oil. And for me, I use organic oil. I don't even use synthetic engine oil. I use regular dyno oil. As long as the viscosity is correct for your machine as per the manufacturer, give her. Harley, I have to speak from the Harley side because that's what I own personally. I do service everything, but I work on my own. So Harley recommends 8,000 kilometer oil changes. I do it at 5. The biggest advantage to synthetic oil, again, my opinion, I'm not going to start an oil war here, but my opinion, the biggest advantage to the synthetic oil is extended oil change intervals. Well, if you change it early, it doesn't matter. I run $6 an oil, $6 a liter oil on my bike. It's Kendall 20W50. It's great. It's got extra zinc in it. It's awesome. That's a Harley. A Harley can run car oil in it. Metric bikes, you should run motorcycle oil in it, but on a Harley, you can run car oil because on a metric bike, your clutch is in the engine oil, and on a Harley, it's separate. If you run car oil in your metric bike, there's a good chance your clutch can start to slip. So, anyways, oil is a very touchy subject. I don't want to get too in-depth with it. I change my oil early. I use dyno oil, and my bike loves it. Josh Carey asked if I have any projects on the go. I always have projects on the go. I currently have, I believe I'm up to 11 riding mowers in my yard right now. 2 of them are for our customers, and the rest are mine, and they are ready to go, and they are going up for sale very soon because the grass is starting to grow. Other projects, I've got my vintage Yamaha dirt bike that I got to do a clutch on, so there'll be an upcoming video at some point on that. I'm going to replace the clutch on it. I've got a 40-year-old Honda that some shells. It's a XL125. I just did the knobbies on it. The last thing I did to it was knobbies, and we're getting those ready to go. Other than that, I'm just pecking away at customer jobs here and there. A lot of small engine work here. Generators, lawnmowers, chainsaws, things like that. So always busy. Always something to do. Something's always broken. Something's always broken. I'll come home from work and there'll be something sitting under my shelter out there, and I'll wait for a text, see whose it is. Or sometimes it's a weed whacker sitting out there. I have no idea whose it is, so I drag it in the shop and then I fix it. And then 2 weeks later, I get a text message from somebody named Dan saying, "Hey, did you find a weed whacker?" Yeah, it happens too. So my moderator, Michelle, has got all the fancy questions. This is all stuff that I don't even think about because I just do it. She asks if you have to check the valves every spring. You don't have to check them every spring. That is based more on mileage. Valve clearance doesn't change from time. It changes from use, from running. You don't have to check them every season. You should check them every distance and mileage interval as per the manual. And let's give you an example. All you guys with Hondas out there, Shadow Spirits, Aces, Arrows, anything with a 750 in it, this will apply to you. Maintenance specifications, maintenance intervals. On this Honda, at the first 1,000 kilometers from new, the first 1,000 kilometers, you need to check and adjust your valve clearance at 1,000 kilometers. After that, it says every 8,000 miles, so 12,800 kilometers. That's a pretty standard season for a motorcycle. 10, 12,000, that's about right. That's about right. So that would be once a year. You could probably stretch it out. If you start to notice them getting noisy, a little ticking, clattery noise in the top end, you can definitely needs to be done. But if you skip a season, or if you go say 20,000 before you have them set, then it will definitely need to be done at 20,000. At 12,800 kilometers, like it says in this manual, the chances are that they won't be far out. The bike in the video actually has 60,000 on it, and I am pretty sure that they have never been adjusted. And they're not noisy, but I'll guarantee you when I go in there and check them, they will need to be set. They will be loose. So that's an excellent question. All of those things are outlined in your manual. Like I said, even a climber. So it'll be a horrible washout, but this entire page is what you should be checking. That's a lot. There's a lot there. A lot of it is check / adjust if necessary. So there's a lot of inspecting that needs to be done. It's not necessarily always you have to set those valves every 12,000 kilometers. It could be that you just check them at 12,000 and just set them if necessary. That's what is outlined in the book. Okay. Josh says here, he sold me a tractor. I remember now. Yep. Well, Josh, that tractor is complete. It's ready to go. It's ready for sale. Interesting story. So my daughter and I were driving home after picking it up, and I pull up. It was dark, middle of nowhere. We live in the sticks, and I live in the sticks, and in the middle of it is like no man's land in between there on the way home. So I get to a stop sign, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, "What the heck? The tractor's driving all over the trailer, moving all over the place." What happened was one of the straps let go, and the tractor was actually rolling back and forth and turning. It was like sideways on the trailer, and I don't know, quarter of the way home. So we pulled over and restrapped her. But yeah, that tractor's good to go. It's all set. I did a video on it. Actually, it will be uploaded in the channel in a little while. It's needed a head gasket. Push rod was bent. It had a valve lash adjuster that was broken and JB welded. So I bought some new parts, and that was a lot of work, that one. But yeah, it's all ready to go. It runs great. So yeah, it's neat actually to catch up and let you know what's going on with it. Yeah, it needed some work. So let's check my phone here. So I have any more questions? Nope, nothing on there. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Mick or Ken. They're both texting me here, and they're saying that they can't chat. They can't find the chat, so it's not working. Any other questions? Is everybody ready to go for the season? Raring? Want to get the heck out of here now that the snow's gone? Let's let it rain a couple of times and wash that salt and brine and garbage off the road, and then we can get out there. Yep, we can get out there pretty soon. Be nice, Rudy. Anybody else hasn't checked in yet? We got 12 viewing. I watch Mick Moore's. He's in the live stream in the chat there. I watch his live stream over in the UK or Great Britain, and they've got some weird lawnmowers over there, like haters, and I don't know. They got some weird stuff, but a lot of them is just Briggs and Tecumseh's. Their favorite Tecumseh engines. Tecumseh over here was far more popular in snowblowers, but we're getting off topic here. We're not. It's not small engines. So Ken's there. What's your question, Ken? Any questions for me? Anybody else got a question? I don't know specific specs and everything for every motorcycle that they build, but bike is a bike is a bike. They all need maintenance, adjustments, tuning. This Shadow Spirit on the hoist here, I got to pull the carbs off of it and soak them because they're it's running very, very lean. So probably some junk built up in the carbs, and I'll set the valves. Strange that they're still there with setting the valves. Harleys have antiquated technology, but they have hydraulic lifters, and you don't need to set the valves. You set your preload on the lifter, and it's good for life of the lifter. But yeah, these Hondas, you got to adjust them. They're manually adjusting. I did another one of our members. I did his last year. It had 38,000 kilometers on it. They had never the rocker covers had never been off, and they were out. They were out of spec quite a bit. They really needed to be adjusted. Made the bike run completely different. It wasn't terrible, but it made it run different. It was much more crisper throttle response when after the valves were adjusted. So I've got a text question here. Mick asks what the best make of road tire is. That can be the fuel for a heated debate. I haven't personally used every brand, so I can't comment on every brand. I can tell you what I use. I use Kenda Challengers on my Harley. I use a 140 tire on the back. That's a little wider than stock. Stock should be a 130. I use a 140. The 140 tire, it's the slightly wider will give it a little bit more stability, but more importantly, that tire, once you go to the 140, the maximum weight it can carry actually goes way up. So on a Harley, fully loaded, tour pack, luggage, two people on it, and hauling in the middle of the summer, the 130 tire, it's right on the edge of what that tire is designed to hold, to be capable of carrying safely. Going to the 140 with the higher weight capacity on it is more of a cushion for me. So it lets me, I'm a little more confident in the tire, but not that I've ever had an issue with it. Those Kendas, they wear great. They wear a good long time. I'm getting about 19 to 22,000 kilometers out of a tire, which is great. And they still are sticky in the rain. There's a lot of guys like the Michelins. There's I don't even remember that off the top of my head. Michelin, is it Elite? I forget what they are, but there's two tires. There's the Metzler and there's a Michelin, and guys are always flipping back and forth on which is the best tire. Well, the best tire for me is not a $320 tire, so I use a Kenda myself. I get it from Fort 9 here during Quebec. I get it there. It's a Canadian supplier. I get them online, and the shipping is free over $50. And typically, if you buy two tires, you get $10 more off. So I buy Kenda tires through fort9.ca, and those are what I use on my bike. I like them. If people ask me my recommendation, that's what I use. That's what I like. Again, I haven't used the Michelin. I haven't used the Metzler, but I have used the Kenda, and I like them. I don't need to change them. I actually put a pair of Kenda knobby tires on the little Honda 125. Kenda Classics, they're called. Great knobby tires. Ken says he's got to change his winter air to summer air. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're due for that, definitely. I believe Ken's bike is shaft drive, so there's not a whole lot of maintenance there. You change oil and give her. That's it. That's it. Another text question? Nope. How many of the people in the chat here do their own maintenance? Do your own oil changes? I'm curious to see. There's an oil change is quite simple. I'm interested in seeing how many people do their own. And if you do your own oil changes, do you use synthetic or dyno oil? I'll let somebody else start that debate. Mick says he does his own oil changes. That's great. That's good. Save you some bucks. Jay says he does. Yeah. Oil changes are simple enough, and well, it's easier than doing it on your car because you don't have to lift them up or nothing. You just leave them on the side stand. You can do an oil change. It's quite simple. Yeah. Michelle says that I do. I do. Yep. And it's done. I did the oil change on it. It's ready. Jay uses synthetic 2050, change every 5K. Beautiful. Mobile One. Mobile One 20W50. Some guys will tell you that Mobile One 2050 makes the top end get clattery in a Harley. I haven't had that issue. And I know your bike doesn't have that issue. How many people have changed their own motorcycle tires? That's not fun. Rudy says he has in the past, but he prefers the professional eyes of this Don Dupuis guy. Oh, he catches what I miss. Well, that's good. That's good. Jay says he used Mobile One. Yeah, no clattery noise in that one. I think it was mostly on the older stuff, the older twin cams that do it. Adam says, oh, thank you, Adam. It's great. You're going to do your own oil changes once you get your bike. Oh, that's perfect. Hey, there's no better way to learn about your bike than doing your own maintenance. Get yourself a manual. If you can follow instructions, you can do the maintenance. It tells you how to do it in the book. Mick is asking on my phone here, asking me which oils are good with a wet clutch. It'll be motorcycle specific oil. I think it's what is it? SJ? JASO. JASO. JASO spec. JASO spec, basically the additive package. The additive package is less than what's in a car. So there's a lot less friction modifiers in motorcycle oil. Because what happens is on a metric bike that has the clutch in the engine oil, your friction additives, your additive package, the zinc, molybdenum, all that stuff gets impregnated in the clutches, and then it can actually cause them to slip. So that is why you can't use car oil in a metric bike. Again, Harley uses a separate area for the clutch. That uses that's where your primary chain is. So the clutch is not in the engine oil. So on a Harley, you can run top end car oil in them. You can run diesel oil in them. You can run anything you want in the Harley. Keep the viscosity correct, but you can run any type of oil in it. If you can run one with super extra zinc in it, which is the zinc is what really helps with the wear. So that Kendall stuff that I use, and actually Rudy uses it too, that Kendall stuff, 2050, it's got extra zinc. So it's been great for me. Metric bikes require motorcycle oil. If you want to use dyno oil, inexpensive dyno oil, Canadian Tire, I'm not going to help you with that, Mick or MC, but Canadian Tire oil, Canadian Tire has Castrol. They used to call it Grand Prix, Castrol Grand Prix, but now they call it Castrol Go. It's motorcycle oil. It's 20W50, or they have 10W40, and I believe most metrics use 1040. That can be used in motorcycles because it's four-stroke motorcycles. So that's actually decent oil. I use it, that 1040 Castrol, I use it in all the quads. I've got two Honda quads, and I've got the Honda dirt bike and the Yamaha dirt bike. That stuff all gets the 1040 Castrol Go. This bike, this Honda, got Castrol Go 1040. That works really, really good. I've been using that for many years, and it's like $6.50 a liter or something. It's not expensive. Not expensive at all. Yeah, they have the two most common, 10W40 and 20W50. So perfect. Still got 11 people watching. We haven't lost anybody. My random rambling. I'm going to throw that link out there again, see if anybody wants to pop in, just in case. Want to come up on the panel. You have to have a webcam and a microphone, or built in. If you're on a laptop with a webcam, that'll have a microphone. So if anybody wants to come in, you're more than welcome. Oh, we're doing all right. How many people have already had their bikes out this weekend? I was gonna, like I said, I almost got out there this morning. to get my bike, but I got busy outside here. So how many people have already been out riding? That's in the chat here. When I ask a question, I have to leave about half a minute or so for the lag. The difference between you guys are watching it on YouTube. I'm not watching myself on YouTube. I'm watching it on my StreamYard. So that was a good question, Mick. Which oils were good with the wet clutch? It'll be motorcycle oil, JASO spec, in whatever viscosity your bike calls for. One sec, I'll grab that Castrol Go oil. Might still have the old stuff, Grand Prix. It is Castrol Grand Prix. This has been my go-to oil in my metric stuff. Now it says, instead of Grand Prix, it says Go here, but it's the same stuff. 10W40 motorcycle oil. Specifically, motorcycle oil does not have the additive packs. Jay says he drove 300 feet today on a Shadow. Oh, that's only because you got 11 of them. You got 11 bikes in that shop for sale. This oil here says it contains specialized additive package that has antioxidants, detergents, dispersants, and varnish inhibitors that help prevent ring stick and buildup of harmful engine deposits. It exceeds the performance requirements of North American and foreign motorcycle manufacturers that require API service SG. So that's it, SG. JSO spec or SG. I've never had an issue with this. I've been using this in quads and dirt bikes for a very, very long time. All right, Ken, I see Ken's leaving, so thank you very much for joining. Hopefully it went as expected. So thanks for the compliment, and thanks again for popping in. We'll chat soon. Yes, Adam. Yeah, we keep talking about that. We'll be out riding soon. So, Dan, the fellow with the spider, says he was out and about with it. Dan's got a spider and a Harley. We hardly ever see the Harley anymore, though. Usually just the spider. He says it's because it's it's easier for riding two up, but we see him solo a lot on it now. Thanks, Dan. Looks like we got a couple of people leaving, so, and we've been on for over an hour. I think we're going to shut her down. My throat's getting dry. Pretty sure there's a Molson export calling my name, or a 50 or something. Yeah, I hear it. So thanks for stopping in, guys. It's been great. My first live stream seemed to be pretty good. Thank you to my moderator. Thank you for everybody who's leaving comments. If you need to get hold of me, if you got questions, shoot me a message on Facebook. If you got me, you got me. If you don't know me, you don't got me. So if you need me, if you know me, you already have my contact info. Facebook or through YouTube is fine. I just got a comment on my phone here from Dan, the Spider-Man, but I can't say it. So on that note, we're going to shut this one down, guys. Thanks again so much. Please, like I said, if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up, and it helps my channel out. So it'll help me keep going with this one. So ride safe, guys. Take care.